Hey everyone, Dante here with the Raging Geek, and today is June 4th, 2025. It's Wednesday, it's New Comic Book Day, and I wanted to go over my comic book haul for this week, and I had a major gripe, especially with this week, with all the variants, and specifically the Justice League versus Godzilla and Kong 2 series. Now, the amount of the variant covers they had for this particular title was insane. This is not to go. This is not to say that that was the only book with a lot of variant covers this week, but this specific title, it was, I think, totally a cash grab, and you know, I've bought many variants in the past before, but it's kind of becoming clear to me. I think over time, and there's a lot of other influencers out there saying the same thing. Um, the amount of variants that they're coming out with, I think it's really doing damage to the hobby, and I don't know if this is purely. I mean, obviously, it's purely for money, but I don't know if this is because they feel they need to sell these books to so the hobby stays afloat, or is this just purely making money at the expense of the collector? So I have a feeling it's the latter, um, and it's totally unnecessary. And I think in the long run, it's gonna damage the business, and people are gonna move away from new comics. I feel eventually because of this, and either just stick to collecting old comics, or there's going to be a new medium. You know, I guess maybe digital, which is already out there. Frankly, I can't really see myself reading a digital comic, let alone a digital book. I'm one of those. I need to have the actual physical media in my hand to read it. Um, but yeah, uh, you know, a whole that reasonably should have been like maybe I want to say like $30-$40 turned out to be over $100, and it's primarily because of these variants. Um, and it's crazy. It's not sustainable. I'm sure there's a lot of collectors out there who have a lot of disposable income to keep up with the variants, and there's a lot of completionists, like myself. Especially when it comes to something gimmicky, like you're having Godzilla and all these titles, and you have numerous variant issues. They know it's just the nature of the collector and the business. They know, and you even know that you're gonna want all the variants. Um, Especially if it's a character that you're interested in. In my case, Godzilla. Um, and this week, let me tell you, they had Godzilla and like everything. It was like Godzilla and DC and Marvel. You had him in X-Men. You had him in the Justice League, and then you also had Spider-Man versus Predator. That's another one, which I had to get. So for me personally, it's like Spider-Man titles with Peter, um, especially ones where he crosses over, like so the Spider-Man Wolverine. That was always a big one, especially since like you know, you had that one off in the 80s, Spider-Man versus Wolverine. That was always a great issue. Um, you know, it's you rarely saw those characters together, and you know, to have them together, teamed up, you know, especially for Wolverine and Spider-Man fans, it was really a big deal. There was also a Web of Spider-Man issue. I forget. It's like Web of Spider-Man, either 26 or 28. It was in the mid 20s, but that's one issue that whenever I see it for a cheap price, I always pick it up. I hoard that issue. I mean, it was just one of my favorite issues when I was younger. Um, and yeah, nostalgia wise, certain team ups always held a special place in collectors' hearts. So, um, that being said, let me show you what I bought this week, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with all the variants. And I think it's just like getting to the point where, I walked out of the store and I was like, it was like, what did I just do? I felt so like ashamed of myself when I walked out of the store. I was like, I spent all this money on these variants. It's like, did I really need to get every variant? But obviously it was too late. What's done is done. But going forward, I really think I'm gonna have to be more selective. And it's not purely for financial reasons. I mean, it's not a huge deal, this is one of the few things that I really like to do, collect comics and toys and things like that. So, every week's, spending a few bucks on, a few new comics is not that big a deal. But, when you break it down, I mean, it's a lot for extra books that you're really buying the same comic over and over, and they're not significant comics. I mean, none of these comics down the road, I feel, are gonna be really worth anything. I mean, you're gonna find them in a dollar bin at some point. Justice League versus Godzilla. Chrome cover, variant cover, whatever fucking cover. I mean, what's it gonna be worth 5 years from now? Nothing. So, let's take a look at all these books. I got a few other things too I'll show you. And yeah, I was at Zapp's in Manalapan. If you're in the Jersey area, if you didn't know, Zapp's in Manalapan was acquired by one of its managers, and they're gonna open up the store. They told me the name of the new store. I forgot what they're calling it though. The store will still be there. It'll be under a different name, and they're gonna spice it up with some new and exciting stuff. I heard like vinyls and maybe expand more into like retro video games and stuff like that. But yeah, it's gonna be cool. The gentleman I'm referring to is, if you're a regular there, his name is Doug. Real cool guy. Known him for a long time. I've been going to Zapp's for quite a bit, and yeah, look forward to seeing the new store and how they set it up. Hopefully it gives me some ideas for my store, hoping to come soon. But yeah, so picked up a few packs of this is the latest Pokemon, Destined Rivals, and I have a feeling, Pokemon definitely a whole younger generation growing up and collecting these cards. I feel like the comic generation probably like 10 and 20 years is going to be like smaller and smaller and smaller. Um, you know, at least people from my generation, which I feel like is like probably the lion's share of people, you know, throwing down bucks for older and, you know, newer books. So, um, you know, as that market share shrinks, I think a lot of these comic stores are going to transition more into either video games or, you know, Pokemon cards. So I'm trying to, and it's funny, if you ever watched Comics Den, that's another big channel. They got a great channel. They seem to be dabbling more in Pokemon cards lately, and you know, really something I'm not too familiar with. You know, when I do buy older Pokemon cards, I try to stick to the base set and, you know, graded cards, things like that. Um, you know, it just seems like the newer cards, I feel like in the end, it's always going to be the base set or earlier years that are going to be worth anything. And, you know, there's just so many of the new cards and, like, you know, so many Gem Mint 10s. It's just like, I feel like it becomes meaningless after a while. But got 3 packs of the latest Pokemon Destined Rivals. They had a copy of this. I didn't have this book, so I picked it up. Deadpool. It's the Circle Chase, and I've still yet to get the 1997 Deadpool in his original series. The #1 book. I want to pick that up. I've been trying to find that book. Every time I find it, though, you know, it's like there's always something a little bit wrong with it, and you know, they're trying to fetch like a premium price for it. It's like it's not really a book I'm willing to pay a lot of money for. And being it's, you know, a modern book, it's like you kind of want it in as good a grade as possible. So yeah, haven't really found the perfect blend of price and condition to warrant buying a copy. But this was pretty good condition. Also, an earlier book, which I thought was a good pickup. Okay, so here is one of the variants I'm referring to, and yeah, Spider-Man and Wolverine. They came out with a couple of variant issues. There was a bunch. There was a couple I picked up last week or the week before. There was a foil cover and a couple of variants, and I picked those up. So I'm thinking like 3 or 4 variants of this, at least that I've seen, and I picked them up. There was like Zaps had like I think like 3 foil covers. I think I swiped them all. I tend to like the foil covers. I think they're pretty cool. You know, I like the cover quality. I like it's nice thick paper, and I feel like the foil kind of elevates it a bit, but only for certain covers. I mean, if it's a butt ugly cover, you know, I won't get it. But yeah, the full covers are I've been tending to gravitate to for some reason. I'm not sure why. Got the base cover for the Godzilla vs. X-Men here. I picked up 2 copies of that. I believe that just came out this week. And here we go. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. That's a lot of verses. And this is 2. They came out with the first one. I don't think it was. I think it was like last year or at least a few months ago. I think a year or so ago. But yeah, they had like these polybag ones where they actually Godzilla and Kong, you know, do sound effects, and they roared. So there was like a sound machine in the comic book when either when you opened it or I didn't open mine, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah. So yeah, here's the base cover for that. And these books are the base cover is $5, and then the variants for some unholy reason is $1 more, which I don't understand one bit. I mean, why? I mean, shouldn't the original be more? I don't know, but $5. This is the base cover. So here's the first variant, another $6. Another variant, another $6, and it looks like King Ghidorah is making an appearance in this one. I don't know if it's a total team up on Ghidorah or what. I've yet to open it and read it. And then we have the foil cover for $8. So it just progressively gets more expensive. 5, 6, and then $8. So far, 17.8. You're looking at $25 for 4 books. Another book here. $31. And then one more. And this is the sketch art cover. The price is $6. So a grand total of $37 for six books. Yeah. And I mean, if you look at these covers, I mean, these are really nothing to write home about. I mean, the art isn't spectacular. The drawing isn't spectacular. I mean, nothing's really spectacular about it. I mean, the best one is probably art-wise is the foil cover. Some artist, Giang. aside from that, I mean, it's all mediocre art just for the sake of having them all. I mean, it's like I'm really going to have to make a conscientious. I'm really going to have to make a conscientious effort to not buy all these variants in the future. Same thing with Predator vs. Spider-Man. Base cover and a variant. Marvel Rivals #1. I don't remember if this was I actually picked up 2 of these. I gave one to my son, but I can't remember if this came out this week or a week or 2 ago. But picked that up. And yeah, I picked up a couple of variants of Amazing Spider-Man #1. And that was it. So, yeah, pretty much with all the books, I spent close to like $100. And yeah, for new comic books, you know, especially like when you think about it, I only really bought 3, 4, 5, 6 new titles. You know, so it's like it should only come out to like $30-$40. It's like you end up spending like over $100. So they've cleverly, you know, found a way to squeeze 3 times the amount of money out of a collector who, you know, is enthusiastic about the titles coming out, but you know, kind of gets lured into getting all the covers, because like any collector, you know, you're always trying to complete the set. You know, when it comes to resale time, if there's ever a time, you know, it's always nice to be like, you know, here are all the covers. You know, especially having a store like myself. You know, a lot of times I might read this book. A couple of months later, I'll look at it. You know, I'll be like, you know, I can do without this. So then you put it up for sale, and it's like, you know, did I really need to buy all these covers? So, yeah, that was it.
Hi, baby. Sorry.
What's up?
Did you want me to wake you up tomorrow to go to the reading luau thing for Ethan?
I didn't even know there was
I think somebody told you about it when we saw Miss Semple last. The reading luau. It's tomorrow from 10 to 10:45. I can go by myself. It's only 45 minutes.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. You want me to like tell you I'm leaving, kind of thing?
Sure.
Okay.
So that was this week's haul. Let me know in the comments how you feel about all these variants. Um, you know, is it just a self-control issue? Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, to a degree, it's always a self-control issue. But, I mean, do you really think, you know, it's definitely, I feel You know, so this was this week's comic haul. Let me know in the comments what you think. I mean, do you think that the hobby has become too flooded with all these variants? You know, are you sick of seeing all these variants? Uh, you know, I just, it's like every time I go into the store, it's like, you know, every time I get new comics, you know, you buy a book and there's like 10 variants, you're like, you always have this, well, at least I always have this feeling like, man, you know, I'm always leaving like chips on the table or something, you know, when, you know, I know every new comic book week, you know, when I see a certain issue that I like and there's a bunch of variants, I'm like, you know, oh, I'm gonna, you know, I always get this little voice saying, oh, you regret not getting it later or something. So let me know if you feel the same way. This was the Raging Geek. This was the Raging Geek. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed any part of this video. Thanks for watching. Come again soon and take care.